When I was the chaplain in the pediatric intensive care unit, a little girl who was about 9 said she wanted to speak with a chaplain. She shared that she was afraid of ministers. Her mom and brother had been killed in the car wreck that brought her to the hospital with 2 broken legs and a broken arm. And she wanted to know what heaven was like. We talked about that. And then she started crying. This little girl.
There's a lot of blurriness about who a chaplain is or what interaction or contact looks like.
I think if you say chaplain to the average person, if they've heard the word, they've heard it in the context of MASH and Father Mulcahy.
America's religious life is changing, and the roles of clergy and chaplains are changing with it. Wendy Cadge of Brandeis University is leading research into how Americans view chaplains today, where there's a demand for chaplains, and how chaplains are trained and prepared to meet demand in a culture where the role of traditional clergy is fading.
For people of my generation, and particularly of my children's generation, if we're in the emergency room or we're dealing with an unexpected catastrophic situation, many of us don't have local clergy to call, and that is where there is therefore more demand for the work and skills of chaplains.
The demand hasn't gone away, the delivery system has changed. People can't get the demand met through their home congregation if they don't have a home congregation. Chaplains have an opportunity to step into that role.
Historically, chaplains were very often white men, traditionally Protestant clergy, who provided rituals and some basic pastoral support. Chaplains today are people of all religious backgrounds, all genders and sexualities.
There's been a lot more interest in chaplaincy from the Muslim community, so there's many more Muslim chaplains today than I had when I started in 2009.
Research shows 1 in 5 Americans have engaged with a chaplain, but a quarter of those people consider themselves non-religious. What are the implications for the training of those who provide emotional, personal, and spiritual support in a time when traditional affiliations are in decline?
Chaplains are trained today as if they're going to be congregational leaders, and this is a problem because a lot of the leadership skills necessary for congregations are not the same skills that make a good chaplain.
A big problem that chaplains face is that when they arrive to help people or to serve people, it's very often mistakenly assumed that, well, they are here to provide sort of traditional religion. They're going to pray for me, pray over me, whatever. That's not the case.
I was working on the palliative care service, and there was a trans woman in her 50s facing a terminal diagnosis. And the nurse practitioner came in and she said, hey, this is my friend. I really want you to meet them. They're great. And they're the chaplain. She's like, why did you bring them here? And just goes off on me for like 10 minutes, a really long time. But the whole time she won't let my hand go. And so I stayed. And I listened, and at the end of the conversation, she said, okay, you can come back. So I came back, and as we worked together, she shared with me some really painful stories of the wounding that she had experienced at the hands of the church, and we were able to work together to find some healing.
We think that there's a need for a lot more kind of training and clinical practice to prepare people to engage around religious diversity, including with people who are not religiously affiliated. We think that's something that could happen in theological schools and classrooms, as well as in clinical training or other kinds of modules. There are 3 things chaplains need to learn more about to do their work well. 1 is responding to trauma and crisis intervention. A 2nd is working around moral injury. And a 3rd is engaging around religious diversity. And so those are 3 clear gaps in the training that would better prepare chaplains to do the work that's needed today on the ground.
I like this concept of covenantal pluralism and really, a sacred commitment to difference, and difference as something that is holy and good and a place of growth and change. I think that's an important part of the future of chaplaincy.
The work of chaplains is important because it can make your life better, especially when you're in a vulnerable, a difficult, a painful place. And we think that this research will raise the visibility of chaplains, will improve the training of chaplains, will prepare chaplains to do the work of the future, not of the past.